that, but I don't think you want to. I don't think you want to anger them. Like, as the policeman, I think you just want to arrest them and get them into the jail.
Now, in our previous 2 or 3 short videos here, we covered quite a lot about exorcisms in the third eye. So this time, what I want to do instead is cover this one, an exorcist recommendation for police officers who probably encounter people possessed by demons during their patrol. But before I share that clip of Father Reehil with you, here's a story shared by Officer Blake, and I know some of you are law enforcement here, so I thought this might be something interesting to share. Listen to this.
A friend of mine reminded me of a story I told him a long time ago when I first got in law enforcement. So, I graduated from the Iowa State Patrol Academy, and I was considered a Trooper 1, which means you're like a baby trooper. And what they do is, after you graduate, they ship you off to the Capitol Complex. And you have to patrol that for so long before you are, essentially promoted to go out to the road. And on the Capitol Complex at that time, there was an old abandoned hospital that the state bought. I think they mostly bought it for the parking lot, but they inherited the whole building. And it was like a 6 or 8 story hospital, and only 2 of the floors were ever used for the medical school in Des Moines. They would let them go there and use it. I think they paid a small rent, whatever, it's not important. But when we would patrol it, we had to go inside and check it and kick out homeless people at night and things like that. And doing security for an abandoned hospital at night is pretty trippy. And so just a couple of weird experiences is the one time I took the elevator stopped, and I was stuck in the elevator, and then the lights went out for about 20-30 seconds, and I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do? And I have no radio service in there. But luckily there was the emergency thing that worked, and I got a hold of a state engineer who came out and fixed it. And I was in there just a short time, but that was pretty freaky. And then a couple times you'd be walking in the hallways, and the lights were motion censored, and it was really creepy when clear down the hallway the lights would come on and there's nobody there. And it was even creepier when the lights would start turning on coming closer to you. Didn't like that. And one time the nursing students or doctor students played a game on us because they knew that we patrolled it at night or walked through it at night. They hung a dummy doll in the middle of the hallway, scared the ever-living out of me. And one time I went down to the morgue. I was brave enough to do that. I went into the morgue, stood around in there, and I'm like, oh, this isn't so bad. Except, like, I had a cold breeze go right through me. I could see my breath, and I'm like, that, I'm out.
Anyway, going back to that clip of Father Reehil I was referring to earlier, he was asked by a police officer, actually, what should they do if they encounter someone who might actually be possessed by demons? And here was his answer. Listen to this.
Yeah, they react violently against things that are holy. So if you were to pray the Hail Mary, they probably wouldn't like that. But I don't think you want to. I don't think you want to anger them. Like, as the policeman, I think you just want to arrest them and get them into the jail, and not have a confrontation with the demon, because then you're dealing with something that's got more power and authority than you do as a policeman. What every policeman should be wearing is the Medal of St. Michael. He's the patron of both the military and the policemen. And I would also, I know a town that has policemen that have the St. Michael patch on their clothing. And I thought, wow, that's smart. And of course, the more virtuous you are, the more they hate you and will try to avoid you. So, be smart. Don't try to antagonize them, because that's going to make your life harder. And if you do encounter somebody that really seems possessed, make sure you have help with you. I wouldn't be alone with them. And then you could maybe even, I don't know what the protocol in a police department is, but you might be able to call a Catholic church and say, hey, there's somebody here that may need, your help. But I'm not sure that would be appropriate either, given the rules of, the government and all that. So, the main thing you want to be sure to is to keep yourself safe in the process of arresting the person. And then if they do, say, get booked and then released, maybe you could, just keep them in your prayers or pass the name on to a priest to be praying for them. But there's so many rules now with governments that you don't want to get yourself in hot water with the by getting yourself suspended or expelled from the police department because you went too far in, interceding with religion. And I know that sounds weird, but in most other cases, you could get the person's consent, and that would be a great thing. But if these people don't want help and you force it, you could be crossing a line both spiritually and legally. So be safe.
And I've shared this clip with you several weeks ago, but just because we're already on the subject, why don't I share this again with you here?
It was several years ago. I was the only deputy working. Dispatch sent me out to a farmhouse in a rural part of our county because the grandmother wanted a welfare check done on her granddaughter. Now, the granddaughter lived in that grandmother's residence, but in the basement. And Grandma said that her granddaughter had not slept or ate in days and was hallucinating and destroying the basement. Why she waited so long, I don't know. Not for me to judge. Now, I knew the granddaughter because I had dealt with her on previous mental health issues and from previous drug arrests. So I can't say I was probably her favorite deputy, but you get what you get. So I show up, Grandma invites me in. She escorts me to the basement door. I open the door. I make a few announcements. The granddaughter doesn't say anything. I ask the granddaughter to acknowledge me. She doesn't say anything. I flick the switch and the lights won't turn on. So my spidey senses are already kind of tingling. So as I go down to the basement, I got my flashlight out. I'm looking around. I'm trying to be cautious. It looks like an ordinary basement. It's concrete cylinder block. It's unfinished. There's just kind of some stuff everywhere. But in the very far corner of the basement, I see a mattress on the floor, and she's on the mattress. And as I get off the basement steps, I see there's broken glass everywhere. I mean, shattered mirrors, the glass from picture frames shattered. I think fine china was shattered. I remember a mug of Santa smashed on the floor. And as I start walking towards the mattress, I see the little string hanging. I go to pull it to turn on the light switch, and that doesn't work. As I look, she had shoved a screwdriver or socket wrench or whatever it was into that light switch thingy, and it not only shattered the light bulb, but it started a small fire. You could see where it burned, and then it must have self-extinguished. So as I walk over to her, she's not really wanting to talk to me. I can see that there's blood all over the mattress. I confirmed she had cut her feet walking on the glass, and as I'm shining the light on her, she starts freaking out. She's saying the light's burning her. So that was a little off-putting. But then when I said, why do you have all this broken glass everywhere? She said it's to keep it out. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. So I sat there and tried to barter with her, being reasonable to come with me to the hospital to get evaluated, and she doesn't want to go. And I felt really uncomfortable because I couldn't really see her hand. She's under some blankets. I finally got to see that she was holding a notebook and there was something else in her hand. And the thing in her hand was small and shiny. I thought it was a razor. So she won't open her hand, and I'm like prying open her hand, and it was a cross. And when I took the cross, she starts all wigging out, going all gone. My precious, nice dear. So I give her the cross back because it's just a cross. And I was like, why do you need the cross? And she's like, it's to protect me. And I'm like, so, she ends up giving me the notebook, and she had just wrote gibberish all over this entire notebook. I don't know what it was. It probably was nonsense, but I didn't care or want to know on looking it up or doing any of my own research. She did it in like lipstick and like the black eyeliner stuff, whatever that black ink stuff is. That's what she was writing it all on. And I'm like, look, you gots to go. You can't stay here. She finally agreed to go with me. So as I coerced her out of there, the ambulance takes her to the hospital to get evaluated, and she's doing the same stuff there. She is like smiling at me in the corner and laughing at herself and talking to herself, and she's like just, doing those like death stares and like kind of twisting her head. I don't know why you have to twist your head to have a conversation. So I'm talking to the doctor, and I'm like, this is different. We've done a lot of mental health calls, but this one's different. And I was like, what meds can you give her to fix her? And he's like, the only thing she needs is God. And I was like, true that. So my thought process was that then,
I've dealt with a lot of mental health. At what point is it more of something sinister as opposed to something more mental health? So anyways, they shipped her off somewhere. She assumingly got the help she needed. She came back, and I hadn't seen her, dealt with her since. I think she moved out of the county shortly after. Curious where she's at. Hope she's doing well. But that was a pretty wild night.
As always, I truly appreciate every one of you watching the videos, and thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. I'm sorry if I can't reply to every comment you've written, but I will keep on trying to reply to as many as I can. And I hope all of you have learned a lot from this video. If there's any suggestion or feedback, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments below. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your continuous support, contribution, and prayer.